Hello, everyone. I'm Corion, your witch in residence here on YouTube. And I just got back from Barbenheimer. No, it's not a new Conan movie. It's when you back to back Barbie and then Oppenheimer. And I thought Barbie was a fantastic movie, and I will be doing a full review of it. But I wanted to talk about Oppenheimer first, and I wanted to talk about The Curse of Genius. Now, before we get too deep into that, I would just like to say thank you so much to my channel members and my subscribers. You guys have made this journey amazing, and I really appreciate your support. And for anyone who has not taken these steps, please consider doing so. You can join the subscribers, or if you dare, join the dreamers, shapers, and makers that make up the membership program here on YouTube. It would help my channel out a lot, and I would really hope you would please consider doing so. Now, with that obligatory ritual out of the way, let's talk about Oppenheimer and the Curse of Genius. Now, I bet a lot of you don't know that, at least in North America, 60% of the kids who are identified as genius don't make it much past their 35th birthday. And most of the time, that's to either risky behavior or the curse of knowing too much, for lack of a better term. Now, there's a reason why I bring this up. Clearly, Oppenheimer is a genius, and he is surrounded by people who are genius. And they were so wrapped up in trying to figure out whether they could that it was only after the bomb went off that they stopped to think about whether they should. There's scenes of people cheering and sobbing. Um, I believe the person who was supposed to be Feynman, the gentleman playing the bongos all the time, I believe he was actually throwing up upon hearing the news. And to be honest, I can't blame him. It would be horrifying to know that this work, this bomb to end all bombs, um, to 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 stop a war to end all wars, was horrifying. That they had been involved in that much death and that much destruction, and I can understand that. Um, we have often seen products of our genius taken out of our control and given to others when we don't think they should be. Okay. We have seen dreams turn to nightmares before, and it's always a tragedy. It's always horrifying when that happens. A lot of the kids that we consider geniuses when they're young, or gifted at least, things will be constantly expected of them. Um, and because of that constant expectation, they're also given an incredible amount of leeway. The problem with that level of leeway is they don't grow up with the same kind of consequences that others do, which actually helps to explain Oppenheimer a lot in his womanizing ways, right? He cheated on women, he slept with other men's wives because he genuinely believed that the rules didn't apply to him, or at least that they shouldn't. In whether consciously or unconsciously, that's what he understood. Because he could get away with it. Because he could lay on the Oppenheimer charm and walk out of any consequences, right? He was involved with the Communist Party because of the intellectual interest he had in a lot of different fields. But he didn't realize the horrors that were being committed on behalf of communism. He didn't realize the political fallout that could arise from this association. So he had to eventually come to terms with those consequences. But what I would argue is his life did not prepare him for the concept that he would face consequences. Every time things improved or got better or what have you, um, it was another point for him to say in his own personal constellation that this was okay. It was permissible because he could do it. He was smart enough to get away with it. And this is what a lot of actual gifted people and geniuses get. That's why you will see People who are very, very smart do very, very dumb things because they never face the consequences of the little dumb things that they've done because they were just so smart, or they got away with it because they were so clever. But the truth is, as they go on, this will hurt them. This will turn into something terrible. I often think back to friends who burnt out very quickly because of the expectations on them and their inability to handle it, or did something incredibly foolish, incredibly insensitive, thinking they would get away with it this time, but they didn't. And I feel sorry for them because they managed to destroy their lives. I think of other friends of mine who had fantastic things happen to them, really, truly wonderful things, and works of genius approach them, only to see those genius works turned to make profit for somebody else, or even worse, to cause hurt and damage to something they created. The curse of knowledge is not something that a lot of people think would be a bad thing. It's, well, if I could figure out how to do this, that, or the other thing, clearly I would, be able to handle whatever life threw at you. But you can't. There's always a price to pay for that. And a lot of the time, it's a price that you don't even think about because you're too busy thinking about whether you could to stop and think about whether you should. And you're encouraged to not think about whether you should, only whether you could. There are many gifted schools in my area, in fact, that don't even approach anything regarding morals or ethics until well past high school. But I would argue by that time it's too late. By that time, these kid geniuses who are maturing much faster than their peers are already considering their big dream ideas, and they have the skills and technical knowledge to make those big dream ideas a reality. I would encourage everyone to see Oppenheimer because it gives you a look into what it means to be a genius, to be constantly cursed by knowledge that you need to apply, that you have to apply. Like a writer who must get his words out on a page, or a painter who must paint. Geniuses must produce their wonder, their magnum opus, their gift to the world. But when a musician releases the music from their brain, or an artist paints a landscape that is breathtaking, rarely are the consequences of doing so detrimental to themselves or others. So, if anything, the person who is neurotypical is actually in a better shape to deal with the consequences of the world than someone is, how shall I say, neurospicy, okay? Or neurodivergent, I guess would be another good word. Because they don't have the same consequence system that we get instilled in us. They don't have the same ethical and moral quandaries that we do. They don't see that choice and consequence are linked deeply until it's far too late. Because there's too much going on. There's too much that needs to come out of their mind. If you have a friend who you consider a genius or gifted or anything along those lines, the smartest individual you know in whatever field that happens to be, check in on them. Make sure they're okay. I guarantee you a lot of them aren't. And I guarantee you a lot of them could use somebody that will just listen and advise them and make sure that they're stopping and thinking about whether they should do a thing. And build your arguments. Make your case as to why they shouldn't. Don't base it on, well, because nobody else is allowed to do it. You have to base it on, these are the repercussions of what your actions will be, and make them think about them. Because if we don't think about where we're going with what we make, then what we make could be terrifying. What we make could be horrendous. What we make could cause our children and our grandchildren to have to go through drills cowering under their desk. They would have to live with the concept of mutually assured destruction sitting over their head. And I don't think any of us want that for our kids. I don't think any of us want that for our future. I think what we all want is for things like atomic power and fusion power, which is becoming a thing now, to be for the benefit of everyone, to be for the benefit of the planet, to be for the benefit of all the little boys and girls who will one day become women and men who will run this planet. And for those that have a person that is considered gifted in their youth, hang with them, talk with them, give them the opportunity to sit down and work out the mental gymnastics that they're going through. Help them learn, help them guide, help them realize that they don't want to use their gift in one amazing burst, but let it out slowly in a controlled way so that they learn how to do so in a responsible manner as they move forward. I can say for certain that I wish someone had been around to help when my family went through similar things. Okay, guys, I think that's the big revelations that I have and the things I'd like you to consider. For homework for Oppenheimer, I would like you guys to think about the thing you are most talented in, your gift, because we all have one. Think about your gift and think about controls for your gift so that it won't be abused by others. Because at the end of the day, the only person that can truly make sure your talents are used for moral purposes is you. Thank you so very much, guys. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.